Hi everyone, and welcome again to Nettle, the go-to place to learn about business, finance, economics, and much more. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click that bell notification button below so that you never miss fresh videos and tutorials you might be interested in. Many thanks to our current Patreon supporters and YouTube members for making this video possible, and we'd also greatly appreciate if you consider supporting us as well. So please check the link in the description or click the join button below for more details. My name is Sava, and today we're investigating a fundamental technique in evaluating the quality of VaR modeling, which is historical VaR backtesting using in-sample and out-of-sample data. And to inform our estimations, we've got 10 years worth of BlackRock prices. It's a listed investment fund that's quite prominent, and we have got 5 years worth of data from November end 2012 until November end 2017 as our training data set, as our in-sample data, and 5 years worth of data from November end 2017 until November end 2022 as our out-of-sample data that we'll use to evaluate the performance of historical simulation VaR. So first of all, let's calculate daily returns by dividing total return indices today by total return indices yesterday and subtracting 1. Again, it's very customary to perform value at risk estimations on 5 years worth of daily data, and we'll do out of sample returns as well. Now we need to specify our confidence interval alpha that we'll be able to play around with later on in the tutorial. So let's start with a 5% VaR. Now we can calculate our sample size that we'll use to determine breaches or violations and determine how well does historical VaR estimated on past data estimate losses occurred in our out-of-sample data. So we count our out-of-sample returns, and we've got 1,258 of them, which is very typical for 5 years worth of daily data. And now we can estimate our historical VaR using the confidence interval specified based on in-sample or training data. So we calculate an exclusive percentile, percentile.exe, inputting our in-sample returns and inputting our alpha as the percentile. And we can see that our in-sample historical VaR is minus 2.08%. That will be used to determine violations in out-of-sample data, or VaR breaches. That can be quite easily estimated using an if function. So we figure out whether the return breaches the historical VaR estimated on in-sample data, and we lock that because the VaR stays the same for out-of-sample data. And if it's indeed the case, if our loss is greater than implied by the historical VaR, we input 1 and 0 otherwise. And we can enforce it throughout and see that there has been 130 breaches over 1,258 days. So in terms of the number of violations, we can just sum up this column, and that returns 130 violations indeed. And to calculate the proportion and then compare it to the implied proportion given by the confidence interval alpha, we can divide the number of violations by the sample size of out-of-sample data. So we can see that despite expecting around 5% of violations, after all, that's the VaR confidence interval we chose, our proportion of violations is 10.33%. And now we can use a standard coverage test, for example. Feel free to use the Coupiet's likelihood ratio test as well if you like, and the results will be very similar, and we've got a video on Coupiet's test here. However, the main purpose is to determine whether this deviation from the expected proportion of violations is due to random chance alone, or that highlights some systematic deficiencies in our VaR model. That can result from the fact that the historical distribution of returns is not stable with time. Again, historical VaR assumes that the empirical distribution of returns is stable, so returns from 2012 until 2017 can be used to infer about losses occurred in 2017 to 2022, and we know that the nature of events, the market movements in those two periods might have been quite different, and therefore we can use the standard coverage test, for example, to determine how significant this deviation is. So I first calculate the difference from the empirical proportion of violations and the theoretical proportion of violations, which is our confidence interval alpha. The standard error here can be inferred from the proportion z-test, which we've got a separate video on here, and we also applied the standard coverage test in a very similar fashion to parametric VaR over here. And this particular standard error calculation is inspired by the binomial distribution. So we can calculate the square root of our theoretical proportion of violations, alpha, times 1 minus alpha, and divided by the sample size. And we see that on average, we would expect our proportion of violations to deviate from 5% by only 61 basis points, 0.61%. That allows us to calculate the z-stat, which is our difference divided by the standard error. So we can see that we're almost 9 standard deviations above the expected proportion of violations. And to perform rigorous statistical testing, we can use a two-tailed z-test, put in a standard normal distribution with an absolute value of the z-stat as the argument and 1 for cumulative. And that would return a p-value that's very close to 0, meaning that it's very likely, it's almost certain, that the number of violations we observed in our out-of-sample data is greater than the one that we modeled using in-sample data and historical VaR, and that leads us to believe that historical VaR testing here is inappropriate, given that the empirical distributions are very different in those two periods, and it would be not wise to perform historical simulation VaR analysis for this particular two data sets, highlighting the limitations of conventional VaR modeling. We can also see whether it stays the same in terms of our confidence interval. So if we calculate 10% VaR, we can see that our proportion of violations is still quite a bit higher than 10% that we would expect. 16% of violations compared to 10% expected proportion of violations, and that also leads us to calculate a z-stat that's very high, leading to a very small p-value. If we go to 1%, we can see that the result is still the same. Our 1% VaR is validated 3% of the time, which is bad news ultimately. And even if we select something like 2.5%, we see that the result stays the same, which additionally confirms the finding that historical simulation VaR has been inappropriate for this particular data. And that's all there is for backtesting historical VaR using out-of-sample and in-sample data and the standard coverage test. If you would like me to perform similar out-of-sample tests for different VaR techniques or for expected shortfall techniques, please leave a like on this video and we'll see from there. Also, in the comments below, please leave any suggestions for further videos you would like me to record, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and consider support on Patreon. Thank you very much, and stay tuned.